Is he supposed to say, "Hi, son"? Oh, no, I'm not going to say hello to the other people at the table or the other people on the phone?
The moment that Devon Archer's closed-door testimony had finished, and that was the Democratic response to news that Joe Biden had spoken to his son's business associates on speakerphone. Fortunately, the full transcript of what Hunter Biden's former business partner said to the House Oversight Committee has now been made public.
Well, at the end of the day, he had a career in Washington, graduated Yale Law School, and had a very big network in D.C., and brought that know-how and understanding of D.C. and ultimately the Biden brand.
Devon Archer served with Hunter Biden on the board of Ukrainian energy giant Burisma. And in testimony, he confirmed that when Hunter put his father on speakerphone with business clients, there was a brand being delivered.
You have someone who says, yes, the president was part of moving the brand. Well, what was the brand? I mean, this was an influence peddling brand, and the object of that influence peddling was Joe Biden. He was an essential part of that.
In the transcript, Democrat Dan Goldman asks Mr. Archer if he has any knowledge of Joe Biden having any involvement with Burisma. Mr. Archer replies, "No. My only thought is that I think Burisma would have gone out of business if it didn't have the brand attached to it."
I had gotten a commitment from Poroshenko and from Yatsenyuk that they would take action against the state prosecutor, and they didn't.
During a Council on Foreign Relations discussion back in 2018, then Vice President Joe Biden reflected on his role in using $1 billion in US aid to get Ukrainian prosecutor Viktor Shokin fired during his December 2015 visit to Kyiv. Mr. Archer says that Mr. Shokin, who was investigating Burisma, was not specifically on my radar, and that he, quote, was spun a narrative that Shokin was good for Burisma.
So they said they were walking out to press conference. I said, "No," I said, "I'm not going to, or we're not going to give you the $1 billion." They said, "You have no authority. You're not the president." The president said, I said, "Call him." I said, "I'm telling you, you're not getting the $1 billion." I said, "You're not getting the $1 billion. I'm going to be leaving here." And I think it was, 6 hours? I said, "I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money." Well, son of a bitch. Got fired. And they put in place someone who was solid.
That same year, 2015, Amos Hochstein, a senior energy official in the Obama administration, warned Mr. Biden that Russia-backed media were using Hunter's presence on the Burisma board to undermine the US anti-corruption message. Then, in 2016, an even blunter message from George Kent, a top diplomat in Kyiv. Ukrainians, Mr. Kent said, heard one message from us and then saw another set of behaviour with the family association with a known corrupt figure whose company was known for not playing by the rules in the oil-gas sector.
I became aware that Hunter Biden was on the board of Burisma. Soon after that, in a briefing call with the national security staff of the Office of the Vice President in February of 2015, I raised my concern that Hunter Biden's status as a board member could create the perception of a conflict of interests.
During an interview with ABC News in 2019, Hunter Biden agreed that the optics of being on the board of Burisma whilst his father was vice president didn't look good.
You know what? I'm a human. And you know what? Did I make a mistake? Well, maybe in the grand scheme of things, yeah. But did I make a mistake based upon some unethical lapse? Absolutely not.
Joe Biden has for years denied ever discussing Hunter's business dealings with him.
I've never spoken to my son about his overseas business dealings.
But as more testimony and evidence comes to light, the story's changing.
The president was never in business with his son.
Democrats, of course, can spin this any way they like. But the point is, irrespective of whether Joe Biden took a dime from his son's business dealings, Devon Archer's testimony highlights a form of political corruption.
There is not a shred of evidence of a single conflict of interest of President Biden ever doing anything in connection or in relation to Hunter Biden's business ventures other than advocating for the removal of a prosecutor general who was advantageous to Burisma.